Waylay seems pretty good. We're going to look at this trailer first, only a tiny bit of it. I'm not going to look through all of it, just because I want to talk about the abilities, and then we'll look at the show match that they've just recently been shown. So this is the first ability. It's like Ray Satchels, I would say, but a lot more like on tracks, like set in stone, with like the distance you can do and the amount of like directional like input you have, because you have to be looking in the direction you actually jump in. So it's actually a pretty good ability, but I think that Ray Satchels are still better for the mobility if you want that type of mobility. However, the difference is that refraction is also on this agent, so you have two abilities that help you take aggressive fights and also then live afterwards. At least refraction helps you live afterwards, but obviously the jumps can also be helpful in situations where you can get off the angle and then jump back to a safe position. So I do really like these types of this type of ability, right? Talk about the refraction real quick. This ability that we just saw, this ability is really, really strong. It's like Chamber Rendezvous, but instead of being based on distance away from the rendezvous, it's based on time away from where you've placed the initial like teleportation spot, basically. And that makes it more aggressive, like duelist type style. So you might notice that duelists tend to get limited on their time. So things like ISO Shield, limited on time, whereas Sentinels tend to get limited on area. So you look at like Killjoy gets limited on area around the util. This is the same sort of premise here. Chamber gets limited on his rendezvous by area, allowing him to stay there for an indefinite amount of time, but also can't really move away from where he's placed his TP. Whereas duelist element version of this is they can move away from where they place a TP as far as possible, but within a time limit. And I think that the actual design of this agent is really, really good. This is the ult, and I think that Hinder is marginally better than Stun, but I think Stun has its own identity in the fact that it's really good versus specifically scoped weapons like operators and outlaws and things like that. And I think this is good in certain contexts, but I don't think it's as good as Stun overall. I think it has times where it's better. So the times where it's better, the hindered effect, is when you can sort of manipulate the enemy into being in the air in some way. Which is funny because you can maybe combine this with Breach Ult to make it insanely good, because what it does is it lowers the player's gravity, and in the air is the most vulnerable state of any Valorant agent, basically, because they can't shoot straight at all. So trying to find ways to manipulate that seemed like the best thing to do for this agent. So ironically, I think that Breach and this agent, Waylay, together with their ults can actually be quite strong, because you knock them up in the air and then they can't land for such a long time. So I think that that's going to be maybe one of the ways we'll see this agent used in combination with Breach. Honestly, at the moment, Breach is actually having a good time, because even though I think that he's I personally think he's one of the worst agents in the game, if not the worst. He's like second with along with like Sage probably. Those two agents tend to be pretty bad in my opinion. Waylay and Teo both seem really good in combination with Breach. So, you know, Breach is kind of eating good at the moment with the new agents. We'll move on to the actual game, the show match. Okay, so this is the show match, and we're going to take a look at Primi and Tens playing the Waylay. So this is the first round of the game, and already such a really good introduction to Waylay. So you can see here that he's placed the refraction on the floor. Tens has, and something that's really important as a distinction between refraction and jet dash is that jet dash, you're a lot more adaptable with the dash, in the way that you can choose to dash forward, you can choose to dash to a different safe position than where you've actually primed it. Whereas refraction, you choose the safe position to go back to, and that's it, right? You either choose to go back or you don't. That's the only two choices you have. But with jet dash is a lot more adaptable. So that's the main problem with, well, I say main problem, it's the main difference with these two abilities. Definitely not a problem. There are other things that the ability has that Jet doesn't, right? So for instance, Jet can only dash in straight lines. It's a lot more linear. You can't go through walls to a safe position. Whereas refraction is a lot more like Chamber in that sense, where you can TP back to a safe position through walls and around walls, through walls, to get to that safe position. You don't have to worry about where you're actually standing actively. You only have to worry about if the safe position you've chosen is safe. And that's what Chamber has to do as well. The difference between the Chamber Rendezvous and this is because Chamber's a Sentinel. He's a lot more limited on space. So you'll see this with the Sentinels, where Killjoy would be limited by the amount of space that she can be away from her stuff, right? That's how Sentinels tend to be balanced. is they tend to be balanced around how far away they can be from their utility, or distance generally. Whereas duelists tend to be limited by time. Think ISO shield, think jet dash, right? They tend to be limited by time. I think old Reyna, not so much new Reyna now, but limited by time all the time basically. Is how duelists tend to be balanced. So that's what the main difference is, right? You can get to higher distances away from your teleport, but you can only do it in the limited amount of time you have. So you can see here, not jet dash. The Waylay dash is really, really good. It's very similar to Ray's satchels, where you have like 2 increments of movement. Or you can also choose 1 as well. But I don't think that one would be really good when you're trying to pull crosshairs in like 1v2 situations where you're the 2. And you can pull crosshairs away from the corner for your teammate to then trade. I think that's a really, really good way of using it, right? Similar to jet dash, I guess, in some ways too. Well, yeah, it is, right? It's basically the same in premise. And so I think that ability is really good. Combined with also the refraction, it means that you can get to far places and then teleport all the way back. You may be even able to use it in situations where, for instance, you can put your TP here, run up here, and like dash into B, and then TP back to help your teammates take A, or something crazy like that, right? That can be an application similar to something like Yoru, which is really, really cool, right? Bear in mind, though, they can actually see the refraction on you, I'm pretty sure, when you actually have it activated, similar to like ISO Shield or Jet Dash even. So, yeah, they can maybe tell that you might be looking for a fake in that way sometimes, depending on context. So, yeah, I just think there's a lot to think about with this agent. I think it's pretty good. I also wanted to show this clip as well, because I thought this clip was actually really, really funny. So you can see there, once again, 10's going out, but this time he didn't have refraction, so he didn't use it. But yeah, it's still completely fine. The one thing about this agent, though, with the refraction, and this is something, there's a similar problem for Rays as well, where you can see here, no smoke on the dash, right? So you have to kind of ask for a teammate to smoke it or something like that, right? That's the one problem I think this agent has, is lack of smokes. So you might be a bit too honest once you actually land in positions. Oh wait, he did have his refraction, but he doesn't show it on the UI there. That's weird. Wait, did it show it on the UI? Am I stupid? I am just stupid. Nice. I am just stupid. All good. It did show it on the UI. So yeah, he did have a refraction there. So he's the same play, but he didn't choose to instantly recall because there was no one there. I mean, he was just holding instead. We can see Primi do this crazy play that I had to point out. That unfortunately, obviously, I don't expect the observers to be good at like spectating these agents anyway. At this new agent anyway, because there's 2 new agents on the thing that have a lot of mobility, so it's really hard to actually observe this stuff. But we got the replay of Primi doing this, which I think is crazy. You can do that, and then I want to also point out on the actual replay coming back here is that watch on the minimap here. Look how far Primi goes back. You can just like an idea of how far the distance can be for you to teleport back. Like, can you imagine that on like a more open map like Breeze, where you can TP like depending on how fast, or if you get resets with your dash, how much distance you can cover and then TP all the way back. Like, it's crazy how much of a good agent this could be in terms of macro for TPing and faking and that kind of stuff too, which is something that I don't think is immediately obvious because of the way that you're most likely going to be using the ability in taking jewels, right? And getting like a free jewel then not getting traded, like Rendezvous and like Jet Dash. I think it literally has the same distance, if not better distance, of Old Chamber with the 2 rendezvous. When it is better, I think. I'm pretty sure it is better distance. At least potentially. And also it's timed, so it's not as good as the Old Chamber, but it's still similar, and it's quite scary, I guess, in that sense. I also want to point out this play as well from Team International, where I think it's a really good set play that could potentially happen. It seems like Waylay is really, really good at following up on aggressive plays out of defense. That's why I think they're going to be really good on Fracture. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work out for Team International, mainly because of either the Euro Flash was misplaced, but I don't think it was. I think it was more that Tens didn't expect to go as far as he did into main, and then ended up getting flashed. So it's just unfortunate, really. But I think the play in premise is really, really good, and I think we'll see a lot of good plays from defense Waylay in taking space and being aggressive. I also think as well that if he just, I'm not sure if he did have his refraction used there. Let me have a quick check. Yeah, he did. So realistically here, he probably should have just took, when he was blind, he probably should have just took his refraction back and lived. So you're not really under this amount of danger that he maybe kind of accidentally put himself in. But yeah, I understand. Obviously, he's a new agent, so he's not going to be like doing all the, it's easy for me to say, being the one that analyzing it, right? But I think as time goes on, people will learn all these things, and it will be a really, really strong agent and a lot more of a safe agent to play in these situations where you don't really need to care too much about your own safety a huge amount, because you can just press one button and go back like Chamber. So I think it's a really, really strong agent that can do a lot of things. If you combine Raze and Chamber, it's a pretty good agent, and I think it's going to see a lot of play in both pro and in solo queue or ranked. So yeah, that's it for my analysis on Waylay. Stay tuned. I'm probably going to be doing guides on this agent as well and that kind of stuff, movement guides and just general abilities when I get my hands on it and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think it's a great agent. I hope you enjoyed, and I'd love to know what your thoughts are on Waylay as well. So I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in my next one.